Greetings, my scattered sisters and brothers in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered, and that you know that his presence with you is more than enough for whatever you might face today. We are rejoining Elisha. You'll remember that he travels to Shunem often, and whenever he's in Shunem, there is a well-to-do woman there. She's married, and that she provides hospitality to Elisha, and she's had her husband build a room for him up above their house, and she's furnished it with a bed, with a table, a lamp, a chair. And so whenever Elisha is passing through Shunem, he stays with this family. And so here we are, 2 Kings chapter 4, we pick it up at verse 11. One day when Elisha came, he went up to his room and lay down there. He said to his servant Gehazi, "Call the Shunammite." So he called her, and she stood before him. Elisha said to him, "Tell her, you have gone to all this trouble for us. Now what can be done for you? Can we speak on your behalf to the king or the commander of the army?" She replied, "I have a home among my own people." "What can be done for her?" Elisha asked. Gehazi said, "She has no son, and her husband is old." Then Elisha said, "Call her." So he called her, and she stood in the doorway. "About this time next year," Elisha said, "you will hold a son in your arms." "No, my lord," she objected. "Please, man of God, don't mislead your servant." But the woman became pregnant, and the next year about that same time, she gave birth to a son, just as Elisha had told her. Well, we can understand why Elisha would want to do something for this woman. She has shown such great hospitality to him. We also learn that not only does she show hospitality to Elisha, but also to Elisha's servant who travels with him, Gehazi. And so they call in the woman and they ask what can be done for her. And Elisha says, "Do you want me to speak to the king on your behalf? Do you want me to speak to the commander on your behalf?" We're not sure why Elisha would, offer that, whether he's thinking that maybe she would like to have extra protection. Maybe she's thinking that she needs some political favor or favor from the king. And so he's willing to kind of go before the king and put in a good word for the widow and for her husband, which is kind of odd because Elisha doesn't always have the best of relationships with the king. So a little bit puzzling there. But still, we see Elisha trying to do something for her. Well, we find out that the woman, her husband is old and that she doesn't have a son. And that probably what's going to happen is that her husband is going to die at some point, and she'll be a widow without a son to care for her. And maybe that's the thinking behind the request of talking to the king and the commander, that Elisha recognizes this situation. Gehazi reminds him that she has no son, but likely Elisha already is well aware of this, and that's why he makes the offer. "Do you want me to speak to the king? Do you want me to speak to the commander?" It's almost like making sure that she has life insurance, that when her husband dies and she has no son to care for her, that she'll be provided for, that the king and the commander will look after her. Her response is, "I don't need those things, that I have a family, I have a home, that they're going to take care of me, that I have my people. And so I really don't need life insurance from the king or the commander, that my people will take care of me." And it's at this point that Elisha is still wondering, okay, what can be done for her? And and Gehazi kind of spells it out. She doesn't have a son, and her husband is old. Again, I think Elisha is already well aware of this. But he calls her back in. And he says, "About this time next year, you're going to be given birth to a son and holding him in your arms." And it's almost like too much for her to bear. No doubt she had this hope for a long time, and she's probably given up on this hope, realizing that she's going to die childless, and that she's kind of come to terms with that. And she doesn't want her hope for a son reignited. But Elisha reignites it and says, "No, this time next year, you're going to have a son that you're holding in your arms." It might be worth thinking for a minute, okay, why would having a child be so important for her if her family will take care of her in her old age and with her husband being gone? She clearly or maybe I should say it this way, there's clearly a difference between having life insurance and having a future. See, if her husband dies and she dies childless, then the family name, it's gone. It'll be forgotten. And the land that should have been passed on as an inheritance to the next generation, that goes to someone else, hopefully in the extended family. But it's kind of like it's over. There's no future if you don't have a child, in their context, especially a son. And so Elisha is promising her a future. Not simply that you'll be cared for and provided for and you'll kind of die comfortably, but that you'll have a future that goes beyond you, that you'll have a son that will carry on your name, a son to receive the inheritance, a future. And sure enough, that's what happens. Just as Elisha spoke, the woman becomes pregnant and gives birth to a son, and she has a future. I think that's the thing I want us to think about today, is to realize that God promises us a future, promises us that we have life through his son, that death is not the end, that we have more than, a good life insurance policy, that we actually have a future, that we have life in Christ, we have the hope of resurrection. So wherever you find yourself scattered today, I know at times that it feels like maybe there's no future, or at times it feels like, giving up on a vision of the future. And we just kind of fall back to maybe a life insurance policy, or we got someone to take care of us. But in Christ, we really do have a future. We have life that not even the grave can snuff out. And so I hope that you kind of take that to heart and realize that as we look to the Lord, as we listen to the Lord, as we offer hospitality to the Lord in our lives, that the Lord has a future for us. The Lord has a future for you wherever you might be scattered today. The Lord has life for us. Well, God bless. Have a great day, and don't give up hope in the Lord's future for you.